Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Hentges with Beyond the Chart, and in this technical analysis of the stock market video, we're going to look at the market here over the last couple of days and for the week, and then I'm going to dive into copper and Freeport-McMoran in a little bit of detail, so stay tuned. Okay, let's start off here with the SPY, and we're going to take a look at that. And this is a daily chart. You can see we've had 4 days this week. We were closed yesterday. And so it's pulled back down the last 4 days in here. And it hasn't closed below the 10 yet, but that's what I'm watching for. I do think there's a very low probability chance that there could be one more push up. When I look at the hourly charts, there's a possibility of a wave count that would allow for that. But I think the highest probability is that the wave C here, this ABC of minute wave 2, has completed. And I've talked about how we've done wave 1, minor wave 1 down, wave 2 back, we're doing wave 3 down, and we have minute wave 1 completed. A high probability that minute wave 2 is now completed. So that's what we're watching very closely for the turn back down. The next one I'm going to take a look at, which I need to find, is the Russell 2000 ETF. Okay, here's the Russell 2000 ETF, and you can see this now has closed 2 consecutive closes below the 10. I like to see that as it starts to turn, but now I'm going to need to see a break of the low in here and then moving averages cross and start to roll over. But it looks like it's starting to break down and looks like it's starting to go. Although on Thursday, it did close on its high for the day. So we'll see whether this is turning or whether this was just a one-day little blip. So that's the picture on the Russell 2000. Let's take a look just real quick on a weekly view. I don't know that it's telling us a whole lot more. Now, it's kind of an inside down day. Well, actually it wasn't. I mean, it did go a little bit lower, but so it's just a down week, down 2.41 for the week on the Russell 2000. All right, now let's take a look at the VIX. And the interesting thing with the VIX on Thursday is it gapped up on the opening, a big gap, and it looked like it was really going to run, and the market was really going to sell off, and then the VIX just pulled back down the entire day. So again, we started to get a turn here, and it faked us out. It didn't go. It looked like it was going to do it on Thursday, but no. So still watching, although this looks like it is trying to turn. A little bit of a rounding bottom in here, but again, I need to see a couple closes above this 10 exponential moving average to tell me that it's really starting to put in that turn. So that's what I'm watching for on the VIX. And the next one is the semiconductor ETF, SMH. Okay, here's SMH, and it has run into this resistance at this from this high, from the December 29th high in here. You can see here's the last 4 days this week, all right? And so here's where we were at the end of the week last week, and it just struggled to get above there. It couldn't do it, and it pulled it back down on Wednesday, Thursday. Now, it hasn't closed below the 10 like I've talked about, and the weekly doesn't really tell us a whole lot more. Let's look at the home builders next. Okay, the same thing happened with home builders, ran into resistance. Now, the resistance wasn't the same date, but, again, the same thing is happening. So, a week ago, we had this intra-day where it hit this resistance from down over here at the middle of December, and now we've sold back down this last week. Now, again, we don't have 2 consecutive closes. Let's see. 32.74 now is right. It's 32.75, so slightly above and then slightly above. So it still hasn't turned yet, although it looks like it may be trying to. So, and then the next one is the financials, which I think might be breaking down. And this is a weekly view of the financial ETF XLF, and you could see this was an outside down week. And it looks like a reversal bar in here to me, based on where it closed and the width of the candle, and the fact that it was an outside down. I think there's a good chance. Plus, what I'm seeing on several of the financial charts, like on Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, I mean, they look like they're starting to break down, especially Citigroup. And that was one of the trade ideas that our insider members are into this week because it started to break down and we got into it. Okay, so that is XLF, and now I want to dive into copper. Okay, so here's the copper ETN JJC, and you can see it's had a pretty good rally coming up off of January over the last 2 months in here. And it put in like what looked like a little head and shoulders bottom. I actually thought it might pop a little bit higher, but now I think it's running into some problems and it may be rolling over a little bit. Don't know if it's going to get up here at all. You know, we've got 2 consecutive closes below the 10. Now I want to take a look at the weekly chart and see what that's telling us. Okay, this is, I've got a little shaded area here where I'm showing you, this is the weekly chart on copper ETN. What I had seen back in July 25th, 2013, it was my first post talking about copper. And I'd seen this big head and shoulders top, and I had a projection down here. And in my post today, which this video is attached to, I have a link to that post and talk about it in what I was talking about with copper and what I was projecting in terms of the move. This was the view that I had at that time. The update post that I then did was in August. Actually, when was it? August 27th, 2014. So we scroll out here a little bit and we get out here June, July, get to the end to August, and here's where we're at. And we continue to kind of stair step our way down, but this was the picture, and it still seemed to say that, okay, this head and shoulders was projecting down here to about 26 is actually where I was projecting on JJC. So now if we do away with the shading, you could see that in November of last year, we actually achieved that head and shoulders objective. It took quite a while from the breakdown, and this initially broke down here April 2013 was the first break of that head, and I believe it may have actually been this week here. But anyway, yeah, that month, April 2013, and then it took all the way to November 2015 to achieve that objective. And you can see how it overshot it a little bit, but didn't quite come down and take out the low from 2008. It didn't get that far. Now it's bounced, and so the real question is going to be, where is this going? I mean, does it have enough oomph to come up, or is this still part of a downtrend? I mean, clearly on a weekly chart, you're seeing lower lows and lower highs. Okay, so now let's take a look at how copper relates to Freeport-McMoran. Now I talk about in today's post how Freeport-McMoran, it's into a lot of things, but it used to be called Freeport-McMoran Copper and Gold, and they changed their name in 2014 to Freeport-McMoran Inc. And you could see how in sync this stock really has been with copper. And I'm showing all the data I've got on coppers to November 2007. And, copper started to lead it down a little stronger once it got into 2014 here, but then Freeport, caught up fairly quickly and then actually overshot to the bottom. The interesting thing that I see is that Freeport actually went below its 2008, the blue is Freeport, and it went below the 2008 low here at the end of 2015 and into 2016, whereas copper did not. So the low on copper is over here, and then you saw that 2008 as I just showed you in the other chart. But really people were talking about how Freeport-McMoran seemed to be in sync with oil. To me, the picture with copper still tells the story with these folks, with this stock, pretty clearly. So I thought this was a really, really interesting chart. Let's take a look at Freeport on a weekly basis, longer term. Now this is a pretty dramatic picture here with Freeport. I mean, you can see that this was $3.35 back in November 2000. And we got within just a whisker of that in January right here, $3.52 low. And then we got this really, really big, strong bounce coming up. But this trend line was broken very strongly here, and I don't know if we're snapping back to the trend line, or if we're going to go that far or not. We'll look at the stock here in a minute. I think it's running into some problems, but clearly July of last year it really, really broke, and so it got down basically touching almost the 20-year lows on this stock. So pretty dramatic story in terms of, when you think about the things that that Freeport-McMoran is into. Because they're into oil, natural gas, gold, copper, molybdenum, a whole bunch of things. All right, and let's take a look at the daily chart. So here's the daily chart on Freeport, and you can see it's also rolling over just like copper is, a couple closes below the 10, although this one right here may be right at the 10. But the thing that's interesting, and here's this bounce from January, the thing that's interesting is we're getting bearish divergence on all the indicators. RSI, this is a 10-day RSI. DI plus is showing divergence, and the demand index that I like to track because it wraps in volume into its calculations, it's showing bearish divergence also with this last move up in here, this top. So I'm not sure that this push is going to hold. It looks like it may pull back, and so we'll have to continue to watch to see how far it'll pull back, and is it just going to stair step its way up, or is it coming back down to retest the lows again? So that's the picture on copper, Freeport-McMoran, and fascinating picture. Everyone have a great weekend, and if you would like this kind of insight on a regular basis, check out the membership page on a link below. By the way, the prices are going up on April 4th. If you become a member before April 4th, you're locked in and your price will not go up. So just FYI. Everyone have a great weekend. Talk to you in the next video.